Hello children, today we are going to discuss the physical properties of covalent compounds. What is a covalent compound? So we know that covalent compounds are formed by the sharing of electrons between atoms, right? They are sharing electrons between them. Okay. Now, how about ionic bonding? We know that in ionic bonding, complete transfer of electron occurs, right? Complete transfer, alright? Here in covalent compounds, sharing occurs, sharing of electron occurs between atoms. So, ionic compounds and covalent compounds are entirely different. Today we are going to discuss about the physical properties of covalent compounds. So let's start with the first physical property, that is boiling point and melting point. Okay. So number one, boiling point and melting point. Okay. We know that in ionic compounds, how about the boiling point and melting point of ionic compounds? We know that they are having high boiling points and melting points. Why? Because we know that ionic bonding is caused by the attraction between two oppositely charged ions. Okay? For example, in sodium chloride, sodium positive ion and chloride negative ion will attract each other very strongly, and the ionic bonding is a very strong bond. Therefore, to break that bond, high amount of energy is required. That is why ionic compounds are having high boiling point and melting point. Now, covalent compounds are having low boiling point and melting point. Okay, so boiling point and melting points of covalent compounds are low. Now let's check why covalent compounds are having low boiling point and melting point. Okay. Now maybe you are thinking that in ionic compounds the force of attraction between the ions is very strong, therefore high amount of energy is required to break the bond. That is why it is having high boiling point and melting point. Therefore, in covalent bonding, the bonding between the atom is weak, therefore low energy is required to break the bond. Isn't it? But actually it is not like that. The real reason is, okay, let me explain. Okay. So this is the covalent compound, water, okay, H2O, isn't it? So I am now drawing the electrons here. We know that one shared pair is here, one shared pair is here, and some lone pairs are there for oxygen. Okay, this is water molecule. Now, see here, this is the covalent bonding, isn't it? This bonding is called intramolecular force of attraction, or the force of attraction between oxygen and hydrogen, okay, is called intramolecular force of attraction. Intramolecular force of attraction. Okay, that is covalent bonding, right? Intramolecular force of attraction is here covalent bonding. The covalent bonding or the intramolecular force of attraction is very strong in covalent bonding. Okay, so intramolecular force of attraction is very strong. Clear? Okay. Now, see here, intra meaning within the molecule, okay, within the molecule. Okay. Now, even if the intramolecular force is very strong, why covalent compounds are having low boiling point and melting point? Okay. Now, see here, so in a sample of water, we know that a lot of water molecules will be there, isn't it? Okay. So, other than intramolecular force of attraction, between these two molecules, okay, or between the molecules present in the sample, there will be a force of attraction. That means from the first water molecule to the second water molecule, there will be a force of attraction. Or if you have one more molecule here, okay, so there will be a force of attraction between these two molecules and these two molecules, isn't it? So in the sample, each water molecule will have a force of attraction between the next water molecule, okay? So that force of attraction is called intermolecular force of attraction. Intermolecular force of attraction. Okay. Now listen here. This intermolecular force of attraction is very weak. Okay. Intermolecular force of attraction is very weak, but the intramolecular force of attraction is strong. Okay. The intermolecular force of attraction is very weak, therefore low amount of energy is required to break the bonding. So in water, what will happen? When you break the bonding between these two water molecules, intermolecular force of attraction, it will become free and it can become a vapor. So boiling point and melting points of covalent compounds are low because of the weak intermolecular force of attraction. Is that clear to you? Alright. So let's move to the next property. Property number 2, the physical state. Okay. Do you remember the physical state of ionic compounds? Due to the strong force of attraction between the ions, okay, the ionic compounds are solids. They are hard solids, isn't it? The physical state of covalent compound is either they are gases or liquids, okay. Most of them are gases and some of them are liquids. What will be the reason for it? Gases and liquids. Why covalent compounds are gases or liquids? The same reason, because of the weak intermolecular force of attraction, okay, intermolecular force of attraction, they are gases or liquids. Okay, when two particles are a strong force of attraction, they will be very closer to each other, therefore they will become a solid in state. Okay, but when they have the attraction, the force of attraction between the particles is weak, what will happen? They will be little bit apart according to the force of attraction. They will be either liquids or gases according to the strength of the force of attraction between the molecules. So what force of attraction we are mentioning there? The intermolecular force of attraction. Okay, so the intermolecular force of attraction is weak in covalent compounds, therefore they are either gases or liquids, depends upon the force of attraction. If the force of attraction is too weak, intermolecular force of attraction is too weak, they will be gases. And if the intermolecular force of attraction is little more stronger, they will be liquids. Okay, is that clear to you? Alright, so we will move to the third property. The third property is conduction of electricity. Okay. So we know that ionic compounds in molten state or when they are in aqueous solution, what will happen? They will release ions, isn't it? They can exist, they can split into ions. Therefore, ionic compounds are very good conductors of heat and electricity. But in the case of covalent compounds, we know that due to the sharing of electrons, no ions are existing. The electrons do not belong to one atom. They are sharing each other, right? Therefore, as there is no ions are produced, they do not conduct electricity. Is that clear? Okay. Let's move to the last property. Okay, the fourth property now. Alright, the fourth property is solubility. Okay, we know that ionic compounds are highly soluble in water. Okay, we cannot say generally that covalent compounds can dissolve in water. Okay, some of the covalent compounds can dissolve in water, some other cannot dissolve in water. So to explain that one, we have to know the polarity, the polar nature of covalent compounds. Listen here very carefully. This is not explained in your textbook, but for your higher classes, I think this is an essential information for you. So please listen here carefully. Okay. So unlike ionic compounds, we can say that some of the covalent compounds can dissolve in water and some of the covalent compounds cannot dissolve in water. So how can we decide which covalent compounds can dissolve in water and which covalent compounds cannot dissolve in water? So before going to the solubility, we have to know one thing, that is covalent compounds. You know that they are formed by the sharing of electrons, isn't it? Okay. Now, even though they are sharing electrons, in some cases, okay, a polarity occurs. What is that? Polar nature or polarity. Polar nature. Polar nature. Now, let's check what is this polar nature. So, I'll tell you one small example. Suppose two twin kids are there. Twin kids, okay? So, usually parents are buying toys for both of them. So, we know that they will share their toys and play. But sometimes, what will happen? One kid will try to own the toys by his own. Okay? Same like in covalent compounds also. If one of the atom, okay, two atoms, suppose two atoms are sharing their electrons. If one of the atom is more electronegative, what does it mean? What is the meaning of more electronegative? That is, suppose one atom is having a tendency to attract the electron more strongly than the other atom, okay, it will pull the electron, the shared electron towards it. Okay, I'll tell you one example. Suppose we have a covalent bonding between hydrogen fluoride, okay. You know that hydrogen and fluorine. Fluorine 9, atomic number 9, electronic configuration 2, 7. Okay. So hydrogen and fluorine. Here one electron shared from hydrogen and one electron from fluorine. So this is the covalent bonding in hydrogen fluoride. Right? So fluorine is more electronegative compared to hydrogen. What is electronegativity? Electronegativity is the ability of an atom to pull the electrons towards it. Okay, you know that fluorine needs only one more electron. So it has the capacity to pull the electrons more strongly towards it. Okay, so here what will happen? Even though they are shared, the electronegativity of fluorine is more compared to hydrogen. Therefore, there is a tendency for fluorine to attract this pair of electrons towards it. As a result, this will make a small negative charge. Okay, this is indicated delta negative, small negative charge, and this is a tendency to lose the electrons. Okay, not losing, they are sharing still, but the electrons are moved towards fluorine little bit. Therefore, it has a partial negative charge and this has a partial positive charge. Such type of covalent compounds are called polar covalent compounds. Polar covalent compounds. Okay, polar covalent compounds. Okay, but in some cases, for example, methane. Okay, so methane, what will happen due to the symmetric nature? Okay, this is a non-polar covalent compound. Either carbon or hydrogen does not have the tendency to lose or gain electron. Therefore, it is non-polar, equally sharing. Alright? Okay. Now, hope you understood what is polar and non-polar covalent compounds. Alright. Now, the solubility. The rule of solubility is like dissolves like. What is that? Like dissolves like. What does it mean? Like dissolves like means polar covalent compounds dissolve in polar solvents. Okay? Non-polar covalent compounds dissolve in non-polar solvents. That is the rule. For example, I will tell you, water. We know that water is a solvent. Okay? But water, you know, H2O having the water is having a molecular formula H2O. This is the bonding. Okay? Here, hydrogen and oxygen. So, oxygen is more electronegative compared to hydrogen. Therefore, oxygen is having a tendency to pull the electrons towards it. As a result, oxygen will have a negative charge and both of the hydrogens are having a positive charge, as we discussed in the case of hydrogen fluoride. Okay. Now, listen here. What will happen? As a result, this solvent became polar. Okay. So, polar solvent. If the solute is also polar, it will dissolve in water. For example, if you take ammonia, okay, ammonia, NH3. Ammonia is a covalent compound, but it is a polar covalent compound. Okay, ammonia is a polar covalent compound. Therefore, ammonia will dissolve in water. Hydrogen fluoride. Hydrogen fluoride is a polar covalent compound. Therefore, it can dissolve in water because water is also a polar substance or polar solvent. Okay. Now, another example I'll tell you. This is methane is a non-polar covalent substance. So, it will dissolve in, like dissolves like, it will dissolve in a non-polar solvent. So, one example for a non-polar solvent is carbon tetrachloride, CCl4. You are going to study, okay, what is CCl4? Carbon tetra means 4, carbon tetrachloride. This compound, carbon tetrachloride, 4 chlorine, okay, carbon tetrachloride, CCl4, okay. It's a solvent. What type of solvent? Non-polar solvent. Non-polar solvent. Okay. Now a substance like methane. Methane is a non-polar covalent substance. CH4. Okay. This is a non-polar covalent substance. So methane can dissolve in carbon tetrachloride because both of them are non-polar substances. One is a non-polar solute and the other one is a non-polar solvent. Here, hydrogen fluoride will dissolve in water because hydrogen fluoride is a polar covalent compound and water is also a polar solvent. Okay. Hope you understood. This will not be asked for your board exam. This is for your higher classes. I just told, just for 10th standard you have to know only this thing. What is that? Some of the covalent compounds will dissolve in water, some will not dissolve in water. Some covalent compounds will dissolve in some other solvents like alcohol, carbon tetrachloride, etc. Okay, that's the only thing required for your class. I just explained for you for the benefit of higher classes. Hope you understood the physical properties of covalent compounds very clearly. So we will start with homologous series in the next class. We will discuss what is a homologous series. Alright, watch the video till you understand all the concepts. Have a nice day and take care.